Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Carl. Thanks, Dr. Grabowski, for having me here. I've been on campus in 21 years, and it occurred to me that most of the students here weren't even alive when I took Bill LaRue's analytical chemistry class, which I aced, I believe. Okay, so let's get started. I put this up here not because I need you guys to go through a history of where I've been, but I want to emphasize the fact that I've been fortunate enough to have very good people in my life. People who have taken an interest in me, people who have cared about me, people who have shown me right from wrong, and therefore I've been able to achieve what I've been able to achieve in my career. It all started with a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry from this very institution, and so I thought, let me talk to you today about biochemistry and all the interesting things going on here. You might have heard of CRISPR, gene editing technique. You take a scissor to DNA, magically things happen. But instead, I'm going to talk to you about my current company, Citizen, and this notion that together we can do more. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with cancer first. Okay, cancer sucks. I don't need to tell you that. People have probably been affected by it. These are the numbers of the United States alone. Many, many people are impacted this on a yearly basis. And if you think it's just limited to adults, you're wrong. Kids are impacted by cancer. It's horrifying to see, but this happens on a daily basis routinely, and we see it all the time. In fact, if you're fortunate enough to live long enough, males have a 1 in 2 chance of developing cancer, and women have a 1 in 3 chance of developing cancer. It's horrible. It sucks. Okay? When you get diagnosed, it's usually the worst day of your life. We see these images all the time. We see patients in our office all the time, and this is what we see. And then they go on the internet, and this is what they see. Hey, there's care out there. There's health, there's education, there's all this fun stuff, nice blue-green colors, but what they don't tell you is all this stuff. Bankruptcy, depression, chemotherapy, all the stuff that you're going to have to deal with in cancer. But one thing I want to focus on is this concept of no access to your personal health data. Okay? And so what are the implications when you, the rightful owner of your data, don't get access to it? Okay? Let's talk about that. This is an analysis done of 1.3 million patients in the state of Washington. Okay? What did they find? 600,000 patients underwent a treatment they didn't even need. Okay? This cost the state of Washington $282 million. Okay? More than a third of these tests were spent on tests that weren't even necessary. Why? Because they didn't have the data. Repeat tests. If you actually look at the source of waste in American healthcare, right? If you look at the things that are impacted by the lack of data, unnecessary services, inefficiently delivered services, missed prevention opportunities, look at the cost, right? Because you don't have your data. And you take a little macro view, okay? Some of you have seen this, but the health spending as a percent of our economy, 17.7%. That's more than some of these other countries. But you say, hey, Premal, we have better health care in the United States, don't we? No, we don't. In fact, countries such as Slovenia, Belgium, nothing against these countries, but we think we'd like to do better in health care, right? We don't. Our average life expectancy, which is the goal of good health care, is actually worse than all these countries. But you say, oh, no, Premal, I've heard horror stories about England and other places like that where you can't get in to see an appointment. Well, that's wrong too, okay? The overall healthcare ranking, which is a measure of quality of life, access to healthcare, we're pretty pathetic in that too, okay? Now, let's talk about your data, right? Your personal data. Probably the most important thing about you, your health. I want to focus on DNA for a second. Your genetic makeup is your DNA. It tells you about your predisposition to diseases, what you'll pass on to your kids, and of course your ancestry information, right? So let's talk about that. You guys might have seen this. You order this online, you get a kit in the mail, you spit in it and you send it back, and hey, 3 weeks later they tell you you're 100% European. This is not mine, of course, okay? But I did take this, and it wouldn't surprise you, I'm 99.9% South Indian. Shocking, right? But they don't just tell you your ancestry information. They tell you whether you like asparagus or not, or perhaps even can taste cilantro. Hell, they even tell you if you have a predisposition to aversion to alcohol. Can you carry a tune? Can you tell salty or sweet? My personal favorite, do you have back hair? Now look, my theory is you don't need to actually take a DNA test. You just look in the mirror. Okay, but hey, people do it. Now, not to shortchange these tests. Okay, they do tell you some important things like, type 2 diabetes, whether you have a predisposition to breast cancer, if you have the BRCA1, BRCA2 gene, so there is some help there. But mostly it's kind of entertaining, right? But here's the fun part. That's what they're doing. They're building a database of you, people like you. That's what they're building a large database of DNA. And you will say to yourself, okay, why is that valuable? Well, it's valuable because then they start forming deals with companies. This is an excerpt from a CNBC article. I'm not allowed to name the company because my general counsel told me I can't. But this company formed a partnership with a big pharma company using their DNA database, which you probably spit into and not knowingly gave away your data. And you ask yourself, what's it worth to them? How about a $300 million contract they signed? Okay? How much of the people who spit in that tube get from that? In fact, they had to pay $99 to do that. Okay? Company's value goes up, patient doesn't benefit at all. So let's go back to the concept of your data. We believe it should be yours. In fact, the government thinks the same thing. There's a law of that. It's called HIPAA. And in fact, the individual right of access explicitly states individuals and their personal representatives have a legal and enforceable right to their healthcare data. But would it surprise you, like a lot of things in government and healthcare, people don't comply. This was a study done by actually my team. 3,000 institutions were surveyed, and we found that over 50%, or about 50%, did not even comply. You have cancer, you want to get your data, they say no. It's kind of messed up. So we said, F that. Patient record scorecard, you can go to it right now, you can go to it afterwards. We basically wanted to hold these institutions accountable. All right, so what do? We created this. This is Devin McGraw. This is my colleague, Chief Regulatory Officer at my company. She was the head HIPAA administrator in the Obama administration. She wrote that law that I just pointed out. So we graded these companies, or these institutions. And just much like US News and World Report ranks UMBC very high, we ranked all the healthcare institutions. And we found that most of them are pretty pathetic in delivering you what is rightfully yours. So we're on our way. All right, we're starting to call BS on those that deny you what is rightfully yours. Okay? Let me finish by just talking about Citizen and how we're taking the ball even further. Exxon Mobil. I always like bringing up Exxon Mobil because in Silicon Valley, people got their Porsches, Maseratis, they've got their fancy schmancy cars, but nobody ever talks about Exxon Mobil. Right? Exxon Mobil, companies have come and gone. Exxon Mobil has remained in the top 20 of US companies for the last 2-3 decades. $305 billion market cap when I made the slide. But they do the crappy stuff. They go out in the ocean. They dig 8 miles. Right? They refine the oil and they make it available to you. They don't make the cars. Yet they do the janitorial work so that we can have a better life and drive our fancy cars. That's what Citizen does. Okay? We go dig for your health records, the papers, documents, which actually show up sometimes in boxes like that. We refine them, okay? And we make them available to you. How do you do that? Very simple. You go on the Citizen app, you just start typing an institution. Remember, we're dealing with cancer patients. People don't have time for nonsense. We're dealing with older people. They don't want to sit there clicking a bunch of things. Just start typing, and we'll tell you where to go. You just have to review your information, upload a driver's license because the government requires it, hit send, and we'll let you know when all your paper records have been arrived in our portal digitally through paper, and we've uploaded it. Okay? Then what do? Oh, sorry, let me point out that we get all types of documents. Not what's just in your portal, not what's just convenient in your doctor's office, but everything. Genomics reports, unstructured notes, structured notes, physician's notes, everything that's needed to actually get you better care. And then we refine it. These are terms you hear in the industry all the time. OCR, clinical NLP, CV, computer vision, terminology servers. It's crazy, right? But you could take a picture of your check and money gets deposited in your bank account like that, right? But heaven forbid you actually try getting meaningful information out of your health information. Well, we're taking modern technology and applying it to healthcare. This is a foreign concept, even in vaunted Silicon Valley, okay? And what do? We give it to you. We refine it. We extract the relevant information from those thousands and thousands of pages that we get, and we present it to you, the rightful owner of the patient, the rightful owner of the data, the patient. We give you full data provenance. We tell you exactly where we get the data from. We tell you what your conditions are. We make it available to you to do whatever you want with it. We also make it available for research because we know a lot of patients like to contribute to research. We know pharma companies find value in your data. And so we lift all this information, present it to you, and then make it available via an API, which is just a fancy word for a pipe that you can pull all the data from. Okay? So what do? You have this. These are all your images. You can have all those right on the Citizen platform. You can have all your information. But what does it enable you to do? You can now share this with your loved ones. You can share this with your physicians for second opinions. And I just had a case where a family in India was able to share their entire cancer with physicians in Memorial Sloan Kettering, Moffitt, the top cancer centers in the United States, bridged a gap 10,000 miles long, okay, because they were able to share their data like that. You can share it with your researchers, right? If you want to contribute to a cure, you can do it. It's yours. But you know, most importantly, what you can do? Nothing. It's your data, okay? You get to do whatever you want with it. That is the power of what we're trying to build. That is the notion that healthcare is uniquely ours, right? And you should own it. That is Citizen. We're in private beta right now. Everyone has been impacted by cancer. If you want to get on the Citizen platform, I encourage you to come talk to me or send me a note. We will happily help you, your family. This is free to patients, just to be clear. Free to patients, free for your oncologists, free for your physicians. You should not have to pay for what is rightfully yours or use it to get you the optimal care you need. Thank you.